Okay, let's get ready to learn about adding and subtracting polynomials. What does that even mean? Well, a polynomial is an algebraic expression with several terms, like this. And we're going to learn about how to add it or subtract it with another one that might look like this. You might wonder why you'd ever want to do this. Well, people who work with flying objects, like at NASA, work with polynomials all the time and need to combine them together. This is Meteor Crater, which is in the northern desert of Arizona. It's about 3/4 of a mile wide, and it was created when a 50-yard meteor crashed into the Earth about 50,000 years ago. That was a really long time ago, but NASA is currently monitoring over 8,000 near-Earth objects. These are things flying around and getting close enough for them to notice. They also classify over 1,000 of them as potentially hazardous, meaning they get close enough that they worry about them and track them. Now, I don't want to give you nightmares, but you might wonder, what if they predicted one of these potentially hazardous near-Earth objects to actually strike the Earth in a way that would hurt people? NASA did a lot to answer that question with the Deep Impact mission in 2005. They launched a probe and ran it into the Tempel 1 comet, which was a comet passing near the Earth and traveling at approximately 10 kilometers a second. That's really fast, think about that. In 1 second, the thing goes 10 kilometers. And they were able to control their man-made probe precisely enough to intercept this thing. This is just a story. We're not going to look at it in any more detail right now, but these people at NASA know how to add some polynomials. So all we're really doing here when we add polynomials is combining like terms. If we were to add 3x squared and 2x and 3 and add that onto 4x squared and 5x and a 1, we're bringing together 3 different kinds of objects. 3 of these 1x1 units and 1 of them. We're adding those together. 2 of these x's, we don't know how long they are. That's why we give it a letter. They're x long, and there's 2 of them. And we're bringing it together with 5 of those. And then our x distance, if we square it, would look like this. We got 3 of them over here, and we're adding it together with 4 of them over here. So if we brought all these things together, what do you think the sum would be? The 3x squareds and the 4x squareds, the pink ones, those make 7x squareds. The 2x's and the 5x's, the green ones, add those together, we have 7 of them, 7x's. And then the 3 units and the 1 unit, add those together, we have 4 units. A helpful trick when you're combining like terms is to draw the same shape around the same kinds of terms. So for example, there's only one x squared term, so we'll draw a circle around it. There are 2 x terms, we could maybe draw squares around those. And then we have some just plain old numbers, a 3 and a -10, and we could draw a different shape around those, let's say a triangle. Of course, remembering that if we're adding a x, that's the same thing as adding a 1x. If we don't write a coefficient, if we just say plus x, we assume we mean that there's 1 of them. So if we combined all the like terms together, what would we end up with? Choice D is correct. The 2x squared, there's nothing to add that to, so we'll just copy it down. If we add together -5x's and 1x's, we end up with -4. And then if we add together a 3 and a -10, we end up with -7. Now let's take a look at a subtraction problem. We're going to subtract 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 from the polynomial 9 plus 12x plus 4x squared. What do you think the answer would be? The difference is choice C, 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. This problem is worded a way that makes it really easy to mess up. But think about this. If I asked you to subtract 2 from 10, so subtract 2 from 10, you'd hopefully say the answer was 8. Because from the way that's worded, you know not to say 2 minus 10, that would be -8. You know, if you're subtracting 2 from 10, you're starting with the 10 and taking away 2. So when we subtract 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 from 9 plus 12x plus 4x squared, really we're starting with the second one and taking away the first one. I'm just going to line up the like terms to make it easier to look at, so I just rearrange stuff up top there. Remember that we're subtracting here. We're subtracting this whole thing. And then a good way to not mess this up, instead of remembering you have to subtract everything, is to just distribute that negative. Now you can just combine the like terms. The 4 and the negative 2x squareds add up to 2x squared. The 12x and the negative 5x add up to 7x, and so on. This problem is very similar, except I threw some negatives in there, so you're going to have to pay attention to your integer arithmetic. So it would be very helpful if you had some scrap paper and a pencil. What do you get when you subtract negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 from negative 9 minus 12x plus 4x squared? The correct answer is choice A. Again, if it's worded this way, we're subtracting the first thing from the second thing. Well, really, we want to start with the second thing and take away the first thing. So make sure we're subtracting them in the correct order. We'll line up our like terms by rearranging what's on the top. Remember that we're subtracting this negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Then to make our lives a little easier, we can just distribute that negative. So flip all those signs in there. And then we can combine our like terms. 4x squared and 2x squared is 6x squared, and so on. We've been adding and subtracting polynomials.